talking to each other?
Leonidas Issa and the CONAI said last night they'll be back in the streets today. They've continued to call for peaceful civil disobedience across the country. Overwhelmingly, the repression has come from the government side. We've seen 5 protesters killed so far. We've seen how many hundreds and hundreds of protesters openly wounded, injured, imprisoned. So there's an informational war right now going on in Ecuador and throughout the world, really. They're trying to pin all the violence on the protest movement. They're trying to give carte blanche to the state security forces to continue to carry out this repression. And I think we have to keep coming back to the wider geopolitical significance of Ecuador. The Citizens' Revolution said that the U.S. military would no longer have bases in Manta, in Ecuador. Now with Guillermo Lasso, there's talk of a Galapagos Island U.S. military base. So there's a lot at stake here beyond just the bread and butter issues we've been discussing.
Do you think the recent meeting of the Americas in LA was formative or certainly positive in terms of moving Ecuador's aims forward in what the president wants for the country?
Well, Guillermo Lasso is very isolated in Los Angeles. Most of the Americas and dozens of nations from the Caribbean boycotted this quote-unquote summit of exclusion, or the summit of the Americas, as they tried to call it. And I think this was a great failure. So Guillermo Lasso is more and more isolated. There's very few right-wing U.S.-leaning presidents left in the region. And even Guillermo Lasso is opened up to the Chinese because he understands as well that the future is increasingly multipolar and not a unipolar world dominated by the U.S.
OK, I'm going to give the last word to Manuela as we come to the end of our programme. Manuela, never enough time in the day, really, for this sort of a programme. The debate is so long and expansive. But in terms of where you see the next few days going, how do you see any sort of negotiation happening between indigenous communities and the government, or are we set for weeks or months of civil unrest?